Good morning all. My name is Lee Hui Ling. I am from the USIP. Today, I would like to present with the title of Increase the Laboratory Quality Assurance based on the proficiency testing data. For the following slide, I will use PT to describe the proficiency testing. This is my slide agenda. Firstly, I will talk about laboratory quality management system. Secondly, or about the PT. Third, case study based on my Kimia PTP food scheme. And lastly, with the recommendation. Laboratory quality were based on accuracy. What is the accurate result and free from errors? Reliability. Laboratory operation includes the methods and the equipment which is reliable. Defensibility. Identify all the possibility of the errors because we know that none of the result free from errors. Lastly, timeliness. We provide the product or service must be timely. Quality is not just for interpretable, but for measurements as well. Lab quality management system divided in two laboratories. They are testing and calibration. Second one is a clinical and medical. For the testing and calibration, we are based on ISO IEC 17025. For the clinical and medical, they are based on WHO Handbook and ISO 15189. There are two types of laboratories in Malaysia, government lab and commercial lab. No matter which lab, they are applied ISO 17025 and ISO 15189 for accuracy, quality accuracy. Quality assurance defined as a backbone of the lab quality system. It provides a management tool within the organization. The three essential elements are validated analytical methods, accreditation involving third-party auditing. Standard Malaysia is a CAB in Malaysia, and participation in the proficiency testing. What is PT? Based on ISO 17025 and ISO 17043, they have same definition, which is evaluation of the participants' performance against a pre-established criteria by means of the interlab comparison. From here, we can see that the types of the PT: quantitative scheme, qualitative scheme, sequential simultaneous scheme, single occasion, continuously, sampling, or data transformation. There are a few types of PT here. This is a diagram to describe what is the PT. MyKimia PTP is a PT provider that provides a PT sample to the lab W, X, Y, and Z. PT provider will dispatch the PT sample to the lab. The lab will run the analysis based on their routine methods and submit the result to PT provider. PT provider will evaluate their performance and come up with the final reports. This is a flow that how the PT provider organizing the PT scheme. The dark blue color boxes is represent the testing laboratory. Testing lab need to register online based on the scheme that they wish to subscribe. They receive the sample, they will run the analysis and submit the result back to the PT provider. And lastly, receive the final reports. The lab will perform the evaluation. If they have any questionable or outlier, they will apply the root cause analysis. This is the benefit of the PT. PT beneficial for 4M here. We have the method, man refer to personnel, machine refer to equipment, and the material, such as certified reference material or reference material. What is the reason for the lab participate in PT? For comply with the regulation and standard, for aid the lab accreditation, such as ISO 17025, for import and export regulation, some to fulfill the customer requirement, and last, demonstrate the competence. This is a case study I would like to talk about based on the FIRDAS 120, benzoic acid and sorbic acid in cordial. For this scheme, we received the result submission 100% and the lab achieved more than 80% satisfactory performance. For this scheme, we have two approaches. We have quantitative and qualitative approach. For this study, I will discuss about quantitative approach. We have item A and item B, which is item A with spiking the benzoic acid and sorbic acid, and the item B as well. Benzoic acid is a common preservative in acid and acidified foods, such as fruit juice, syrup, cordials, jams, and jelly. Sorbic acid is a potassium sorbate, are novel and highly efficient, safe to be used. For this PT study, we are using a commercial brand of cordial, and we maintain the benzoic acid concentration and run the analysis to determine the benzoic acid concentration. And the known concentration of sorbic acid was spiked into the cordial. This is the three elements that for the PT evaluation. We have the assigned value, determine this value attributed to a particular property of a proficiency test item, which is some paper declared as a correct result. We have the standard deviation for the proficiency assessment for calculation of z-score. Then lastly, we have the uncertainty. Depends on the number of factors, participants need to declare expanded uncertainty. When the laboratory receives a PT report, they need to examine the following values. Assigned value, the fitness of purpose of the STPA, standard uncertainty. This is an overview of the result from the aromatics and robust analysis. From here, we can see that the assigned value for the item A, item B for benzoic acid, and sorbic acid for the item B. The assigned value, we will refer to the standard statistic protocol of the PT provider, which what kind of the method that are used by the provider to declare the assigned value. For MyChemia PTP, they are using robust mean as an assigned value. For standard deviation and for this proficiency assessment, MyChemia PTP used a general model, which is a Horvik equation, to obtain the percentage of CV and calculated STPA. Lastly, the standard uncertainty. The lab need to compare the MU with their own uncertainty. Is that comparable? The lab need to calculate back the z-score with the PT provider assigned value and the STPA. If the lab received the z-score more than 2, which is a questionable result or outlier result, is the lab considered as unsatisfactory, or they can achieve the satisfactory level with recalculate back their z-score. This is one of the example with the lab code 247, which is obtained questionable result. Z-score equal to 2.7. From here, if this lab use the STPA the robust standard deviation as the SDPA, the lab obtained a satisfactory Z-score, which is just 1.8. From here, it shows that the lab satisfactory, meaning that we need to choose the SDPA fit for purpose for the lab usage. What is a fit for purpose SDPA? For the more detail, we can refer to the EuroChem 8.2.3. The assessment of whether the lab result is considered satisfactory, questionable, or unsatisfactory, therefore, strongly depends on the value of the SDPA. Because from the Z-score equation, SDPA used in the denominator. The bigger of the SDPA, the smaller of the Z-score. Therefore, the better the apparent performance of the lab in the PT route. The questions the lab has to answer is whether the SDPA has been chosen on a sound basis and whether it is fit for the lab purpose. This is the zeta score. This zeta score can help to check the possibility of the lab measurement uncertainty estimate. It is calculated as follows with this equation. The assessment criteria same as Z-score, which is 1 to 2 is satisfactory, over 2 below 3 is questionable, and out of 3 is unsatisfactory. From here, we can see that all the participants' lab result, assigned value, and associated expected uncertainty. I give the example which use a lab code 103 and the lab code 166 to calculate back the zeta score. From here, we can see that the lab 103 with the 1.28 zeta score mean that satisfactory performance, which is the lab declared the uncertainty, which is a valid result. Whereas for the 166 lab code, they have the unsatisfactory performance. Maybe the lab MU is underestimated, which is not include all the significant sources of uncertainty. Here show the causes of the poor performance. We have the 10 typical causes of the poor performance, which is the sample preparation, measurement procedure, human error, calibration, selection of the measurement procedure, calculation error, reporting the problems, sample transport and storage, primary sampling, and the sample tracking. This is all 10 typical causes for the poor performance in the PT. Here, show the summary Z-score for the BA, for the item A and item B, and the SA for the item A. From here, we can see that the 254 lab code has the faraway result. This is the important first step to investigate, that is clerical error. This is a final report, it's table 1A, show that result and the Z-score for the lab code 254, which is a lab declared 5.015, and get the very last Z-score, negative 14.14. But you need to know that the clerical error is not mean that the technical competency. Clerical error is a transcription error, mislabeling, incorrect units, or decimal error. Yes, to avoid this error, apply the good lab practice is very important, and add on with the administrative proof check. For the method-wise, especially at the method detection limit level, performance characteristic, and the acceptance criteria. You need to go for more detail for the define the method performance. This is one of the examples for the calibration drift. The performance PT might have this systematic error if calibration drift occurs. Recalibrate of the analytical system resolve the error. From this chart, from this diagram, we can see that if we prepare the fresh standard, we can get the lower concentration of the standard compared with the degraded standard. We have the more concentrated standard. To improve this error, we got to prepare the standard solution freshly. Make sure the validity of the storage and the intermediate checks is required. For this machinery, for this scheme for the 120, mostly of the lab coded they are using HPLC. So from here, we need to be more take a precaution step for the liner of the HPLC. We might be change the liner to get a good performance. For scheduled equipment maintenance is a compulsory based on the requirement of the ISO 17025. Excuse me. Maintenance schedule need to plan in daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis. And the lab need to follow strictly to make sure the equipment in good condition. Here is a summary for the 4M. We have the method, manpower, which is referred to personnel, machinery, and material. From here, manpower is a competent personnel with the permanent and experienced staff in a laboratory. Method refer to the standard method with a full validation and acceptance criteria set specifically. Material is a metrological traceable reference such as a certified reference material or the reference material. Calibration provided by the competent laboratory. Every analytical or measuring instrument must be calibrated. Make sure the measurements results are traceable to the SI unit. Machinery refers to the instrument or equipment used in the laboratory. It can achieve the measurement accuracy and measurement uncertainty required to provide the varied result. For the conclusion, the lab need to perform evaluation after receiving the reports for the PTP despite obtaining the satisfactory result. When the lab owner result in the PT scheme were not satisfactory or outlier, apply the cost analysis. Investigate the error consistently based on the four main categories: manpower, methods, materials, and machinery. Additional operator training, the adoption of the new or modified measuring techniques, data quality control improvement, or equipment upgrades, calibration, or replacements are all options. Although the performance of the lab in the program was higher than 80%, the non-performance lab need to look into total error, which includes a random error and systematic error. Identify all the errors and estimate the uncertainty to include in the result. Good laboratory practice must be followed to maintain a high-quality result. It is encouraged that all the laboratories to participate in the PD program at least once a year to improve the competency of its personnel. Thank you very much and stay safe, be healthy.